But perhaps
Mhm.
I'll start with something I was going to ask you a bit later on, but since you brought up the drive, and I can't find the page right now. I don't want to waste too much of your time, but uh, there's a good diagram in your book too about this, the difference between desire and drive. And you had like a diagram showing it as to what the difference is. So yes, since we were talking about the drive, what is the difference between uh, desire and drive in Lacanian psychoanalysis?
I'm not sure what diagram you're referring to,
I,
but let's just get to it. Why not? Hmm?
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
you get to it. If I could find it as you're speaking, I'll try to pull it up. Maybe I've made a mistake and I'm referring to something. 154. I've taken down notes
Maybe
here.
you mean the demand and desire. But let's speak about the drive. Um, Freud speaks about the drive in his teaching, and it's been unfortunate uh,
So,
that
so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, you're right. It's. I was referring to that there. Can you see that?
oh, this guy, yes,
Yeah.
the inverted eight.
Yes, this one here. That is between need, demand, and desire. Anyway, sorry,
Yes,
I made a mistake there. So go ahead. Drive, and desire. Yeah.
no worries. We'll speak about the drive a little bit, and the way that yeah, and the relationship to desire. We can speak about that a little bit. So I was saying that Freud, well, did a lot of work on the drive, of course, and we use the terms to describe it, to characterize it. He was saying that the drive is a constant force. He was saying that it has an aim, but the aim of the drive is not the object of the drive. um, he was speaking about this type of movement that begins in a certain address to another place, but then closes up on the subject itself. He spoke about this transition between sadism, masochism, and then another form of drive functioning. So Freud gave us a lot when he spoke about the drive, and I was just saying that it was very unfortunate that in Freud's canonical translation, the drive is translated as instinct. Yeah, and Freud spoke about instincts and spoke about drives, instinct and Trieb in German, and he went to great length to distinguish the two. But if you open the German, you'll see that when he speaks about the drive, which is a psychoanalytic concept, he calls it the Trieb. Now, Lacan takes that, and in his 11th seminar, he provides us with what he calls the schema of the drive circuit. And I would think this might be the schema that you were referring to, because there is something to it in terms of the relationship between the drive and desire. And he draws it, I don't know, many people have different ideas on what it is exactly. I'll show it. I'll draw it here and I'll show you. Some people say it's a pacifier. Some people say
Like
it
this,
looks
right?
like exactly this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
This one.
I'll,
It's
I'll,
explosion,
I'll try.
atomic explosion. I give a certain metaphor. It's quite poetic in the book on what I think about it, in terms of that I draw from tent building. I know today nobody builds tents out of sheets because you can buy quite a good tent made of nylon. But if I remember myself as uh, being younger, I used to do that, to build tents out of sheets, and you had to connect the sheets to build a bigger tent. And we came up with this system where we would put two sheets one over the other. And if you just tie them together, it wouldn't be strong enough. It wouldn't hold them. So you put two sheets one over the other, and then you take a little rock and you place it underneath, and then the two sheets cover it. Are you with me? I'll bring a tissue. I've never done a real demonstration of how to do it, but maybe our listeners will profit from it more than the
So,
rest of
so
the talk.
if you're on Spotify or listening platform, go on YouTube and you'll see the video of Leon's
Okay.
live demonstration.
So I have this little drum I got as a present from a friend from Brazil. She brought me this drum, so I'll use it as a rock. Hmm? So if you take the sheets, let's say there's two sheets, you put the rock underneath, and you see now I can sort of fold the two sheets over it. I'll have another. So here there are two sheets. And what I do in order to connect them, I take a little rope and I tie it underneath the rock. And then you see the rock holds them together. So if there wasn't a rock inside, they wouldn't hold together, they would break apart. So you need a rock, you need a rope. And you see here is a little diagram of what you see, what we've just seen. So a real life enactment of the diagram of the drive circuit, if you ask me.
I see. So would the rock be the objet, the
Exactly. So we're getting there.
yep, excellent.
So um, for Lacan, the circuit of the drive is a very unique thing in our libidinal economy because it is able, and this is the term that he uses to I won't use the French, but the French means both to go around, but because it goes around, as we see, the drive goes around, but it also makes a trick. It tricks. So it tricks something of the real into the symbolic. And the drive does that. It does some impossible feats if we think about these two sheets. Because these two sheets, they represent two sort of incommensurable stratas, let's say, in the psyche. And the drive, through its movement, is able to make something that is composed of the two. I think, this is my personal opinion, that this diagram is sort of a precursor to Lacan's interest in knot theory, knotting. Because a knot is a very interesting figure. And again, we speak about Boy Scouts today, huh? If you went to the Boy Scouts, you know that there are many, or they call the Scouts today, I think.
Scouts. When
The
I was
Scouts.
Scouts, it changed it.
Yeah. Yes, for good reason.
So
So you learn that there are many types of knots, right? Some are very aesthetic, some have different qualities. And what is interesting about a knot is, let's say you make a knot out of two ropes, and I made a little knot out of two sheets, but let's say you make a knot out of two ropes. You tie them around each other in a very intricate way, and then you create a knot, and it is unique. The knot is something that is more than the two ropes, right? It has a quality that does not exist in the two ropes themselves, yes? On the other hand, it is not more than the two ropes. It is the two ropes. There is nothing in the knot more than the two ropes. Now, this sort of excess level, this dimension that is created through knotting that exceeds the two ropes, but is not more than the two ropes, is exactly that trick, I think, that Lacan is referring to when he speaks about the drive circuit. Now, the trick has to do with exactly with what you've just said with the objet A, with the object cause of desire. Because the drive moves in a circular way, it is a circuit. It comes back to the source. So it goes out of the erogenous zone, out of the orifice, and it goes around and it comes back to the source. I'll give you an example. That shows you that the drive is not the instinct, right? When we go to a restaurant, let's say, we are instinctual animals, let's say, we have a certain hunger. And the organism operating according to the pleasure principle, it starts feeling a certain discomfort when we are hungry. So we go to a restaurant, right? And we order some food. And as you eat the food, this discomfort then turns into comfort. You're not hungry anymore. So this happens again a few hours later, and you go to a restaurant again. That's if you're rich, I guess. And then you eat and you're not hungry anymore. So you see, I'm describing a certain sinus wave here. This is the organismic rhythm, homeostasis, a concept that Freud didn't invent, but spoke about before it was invented, when he spoke about the pleasure principle. So you're hungry and you go to a restaurant and you eat, and you're hungry again and you might have a sandwich at home. But this is not how things work for us, right? We are hungry and we go to a restaurant and we eat, and we're not hungry anymore, but we order a cake and maybe we order a little ice cream.
Yeah.
And then just to finish it off, I'll have a little shot of, I don't know, I'm in a Greek restaurant, so I'll have some ouzo, okay?
Excellent.
And
Big
you
fan.
see that what continues beyond the sinus wave, this little pocket, this little pacifier, this little atomic explosion, is what we call the movement of the drive. The drive is what operates beyond the instinct, right? The instinct is a need to eat, and we satisfy this need. But a drive goes on. And when it goes on and continues to move beyond the sinus wave, beyond the notion of homeostasis, it marks out something in its circular movement. Something is marked out in the middle. This is the rock that I was speaking about. And when you look at this little tent and you see this rock bulging from the tent, well, that is something completely different. Maybe, and this is again just for the illustration, you start asking yourself, what is it? What is it there that makes me go around and around and around and around? And you might start speaking about it and thinking about it, and even maybe in your life attempting to fill it up and with different objects or different things, etc., etc. And this is where desire comes into the stage, onto the stage, because the objet petit a, the object cause of desire, is the condition for desire, because it is a placeholder. It is not an object like any object in the world. I cheated a little by showing you that my objet a, my petit objet is a drum. Yes, is a little drum. Yes, but that's not how things are, right? The objet a is exactly something that doesn't exist. It's a placeholder. It's a lack. And desire operates in this sense like an endless metonymy, an endless attempt to say, well, that's it, but not. That's it, but not. That's it, but not. That's it, but not. So you see that the movement of desire, the metonymic movement of desire, is conditioned on the operation of the drive circuit. When the drive circuit closes up on itself and establishes a certain repetition, then something of the objet a escapes that domain and enters the symbolic and imaginary domain. And this is where we can start thinking about it, conceiving it, and saying something about it in analysis.
Sorry, Leon, I don't think I got the part what you meant by it escapes into the symbolic domain. Do you mind elaborating a bit more on that?
It becomes something with a consistency. It takes form in our reality as a pain in the throat,
I see.
as an obsession with trains, as a fantasy to get rich. you see, it starts getting a consistency that has to do with the reality that we live in, which is symbolic, but also imaginary.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, this is, in fact, I think Todd McGovern, in his book, Capitalism and Desire, he touches on this quite a lot, like in the symbolic, this the objet, it exists in kind of the neoliberal capitalist world. And in many ways, his whole point is the way capitalism works is by not working, in the sense that it doesn't really give you what you want. But by not giving you what you want, it's paradoxically working.
Yeah, I thought it does great work with that.
Yeah, excellent work. And also, it's just because I think you put it beautifully here on page 185, just for the listeners, you say here, the fact that the object is not attainable means that drive satisfaction is always partial and makes the thrust revolve around the object indefinitely as a constant force. Accordingly, not only can we characterize the satisfaction of the drive as never reaching its object, we can also say that drive satisfaction is directly derived from the failure to reach it. And I highlighted that bit, and I even annotated it saying Capitalism and Desire, because Todd has a very similar, he obviously brings the drive into the kind of our social reality, and he theorizes at that level. And I thought that was a interesting sort of isomorphism, let's say.
You know where Todd has this, I love this example, and I love Todd's books, and particularly I love the way he's able to take these sort of very daily experiences in order to illustrate these very intricate concepts. And he exemplifies this idea when he speaks about the show The Wire. I don't know if you've watched that show.
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't watched Wire, unfortunately.
It's a very good show. It's a very good TV show. But Todd says that the trick about The Wire, and this is why it is so much different than what we are used to today in terms of binging YouTube, etc. The trick about enjoying The Wire is not watching 4 episodes in a row, is that it is realizing that it is actually watching 1 episode a day and then letting it simmer, letting you sort of fantasize, sort of enjoy the expectation for the next one. That is the way to do it. And yeah, it's a way to enjoy limitation and to realize that, well, this is how things operate on that level. So that's a very interesting example that Todd gives.